into me again. 16 miles, center of the gap, west of our land.
Good evening. This is BelGeode, and we are back with some Falcon BMS 4.33. Alright, so what I am going to be doing here today is a quick ramp startup tutorial for the AV-8B Harrier, which I'm currently sitting in. You can see my number 2 is over there at that hangar, and we are at Kang Noong Air Base. We're going to be flying around doing a bit of bar cap. However, this will not be the full video. I will add the full video in there after that. This will just be the ramp start variety. It's not terribly difficult, but I'll try to explain everything that I'm doing as we go along here. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on the procedure for the ramp start of the AV-8B Harrier. I'm just scanning around to make sure everything is turned off. It looks like we have our fuel on, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off real quick. And our seat should not currently be armed, so I'm going to right-click that and that'll turn that back off. Okay, so we're pretty much set. I have a checklist here that I'm going to be going through. The link to said checklist should be below. And let's go ahead and get started. So, first thing we need to do is our air source. We need to set that to dump. Now, this switch needs to be flicked twice. The first time we do it, it's going to flip the equip norm and the cabin norm. So, like that. And then the second time we do it, it'll switch to dump. We're going to keep it like that until the jet start sequence has been completed. Alright, so that is done. Now we need to turn on the master fuel, which is of course the switch that I just turned off. So we're going to go ahead and turn that back on. And that'll be number 2 starting up there. We also want the engine feed set to norm. So we'll go ahead and flip that on there. We want to confirm that our throttle is off. And then we want to go ahead and get our battery switch turned on. Should have a few lights, including master caution lights. We want to make sure our master arm switch is off, as well as our laser arm switch. Make sure that we've got 3 green for the gear. And then we're going to set the throttle to idle, and I will close the canopy momentarily because 2's making a lot of noise. Alright, throttle is currently set to idle. Now we need to close the canopy. There we go. That'll shut him up for a while. Sorry about that. I didn't realize he was going to start like right then and there. Okay, before we start the engine, we need to ensure that our parking brake is on, even though it does say in the upper left corner that the chocks are in place. To turn the chocks off, you have to use the radio command, but we'll get to that once we turn the radio on. For now, we're going to keep the parking brake on. Alright, next order of business. Time to start the engine. This is the JFS, or jet fuel starter. With the throttle in idle, we're going to want to click that. Wait for that to start spooling up. And we're going to be watching this gauge. This is the engine RPM gauge. So let's see if we can zoom in a little bit here. We're waiting for this thing to get over 20% RPM. When that happens, what we're going to do is we're going to put the throttle forward to about 60% and then click this idle detent button. At that point in time, the engine should engage and we can slide the throttle back to its natural idle position. So we're just waiting for the 20% mark here, which should be coming up momentarily. It does take a little while. So in the meanwhile, we'll just chill here. Okay, it's getting closer there, so we're going to give it a few more seconds. I'm going to zoom back out here so that way I can see the cockpit a little bit easier. Okay, we're just about there, so what we're going to do is we're going to push the throttle forward. I'm going to put it just below my afterburner setting and then bring it back to about 60%. We'll click the idle detent. And I'm waiting to see this needle go up, and then we'll put it back to idle. The engine should engage around 30-35 RPM. There it is. JFS just went off. Engine spooling up. Let's confirm that that is in fact happening by going outside. Yep, certainly does look like that engine has spooled up quite nicely. Alright, good deal. So now that the engine is on and running, we are good to go. We can go ahead and turn this back off. There we go. The RAM setting is needed in case we need to do like an air start, but we should be good right now, so we can leave it exactly where it is. Okay, next order of business is going to be all the lights and all the avionics and comms. Before we get to that though, they do recommend that we put the nozzle to 10%, so I'm going to go ahead and do that because I have that key bound here. And we can confirm that the nozzles are at the right percentage. Yep, looks like they're slightly pointing down. That is exactly the way I want them. Yeah, slight downward angle. I'm guessing the reason behind that is when the flaps start going down so it doesn't like burn off the flaps. Don't quote me on that though. I might be just talking out of my butt there. Alright, so now that we've gotten that done, we need to start doing some tests here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to test Bitch and Betty. This is her button here. Just hold it down for a second.
Pull up. Pull up. Altitude. Warning. Jammer. Counter. Chaff flare.
Okay, Betty's working. I'm not going to have her go through the entire thing. I will, however, turn the lights on. So this is our main lights button. I'm going to flick that on. They say that we should really wait to turn on the anti-collision lights. I kind of like having them the moment my engine is up and running, so I'm going to go ahead and flick that on right now. We'll leave the other lights on for the time being. We'll put those up once we're ready to take off and taxi. Okay, so with that done, we need to start working on the avionics. First thing is, since this is a Gen 4 aircraft, we're going to have to align the INS. This is that switch right there. We want to set it one click to the norm setting. So that's going to start the inertial navigation system. It's going to do its thing and heat up in the background. Once we have that done, we're going to start flicking on the other switches. So MFDs, we're going to want to get them on. And actually, before we do that, we need to turn the generator on. There we go. Generator is not listed in the little checklist that I have linked below. However, make sure you turn that on. Otherwise, these won't come on. So we have MFDs on, we have upfront controls on, GPS and DL. We're going to want to put this radar switch to standby. It does not go any higher than that I've been able to see, so we're just going to leave that exactly where it is. And then on this panel, we're going to need the FCC switch, which will fire that up. We're going to need the SMS switch, which is the stores management. We'll fire that up. And then the FCR, which is going to be for this sucker right here. This switch also works. This is the Cat 1, Cat 3 selector. However, we're going to leave it on Cat 3 right now for the loadout that we've got. You can see up here on the upfront controls that the INS has started doing its thing. When it's ready, it will flash RDY right here. And that basically means the aircraft knows where it is and is prepared to handle navigation at that point in time. This is going through its little bit test right now, so as soon as that's done, it will revert to its natural state. Everything else is pretty much set to go. Alright, now we do have some other switches that we need to turn on. These 7 are linked, so these 3 will go up as 1 when we click there, and then these 4 will also go up as 1. So we have both the left and the right HP switches up, and now it's time to turn on the HUD. So we're going to hit there couple of times until it's bright enough. Now a quick note on the HUD. If you are like me, not all of these colors are ideal for you. For example, the green one, even though I'm not colorblind, the way that flight simulators seem to be portrayed on my monitor, I can't see the green on the blue background. So the default command to change that is Alt-H, and as you can see, it cycles through a bunch of colors. I am going to keep it on yellow. I find that yellow works the best for me, but you can do whatever you would like. Alright, so now that we have the HUD set up, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these master caution and warning lights by pressing enter. And there they go. Bye-bye. While I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go ahead and arm the seat. There we go. That is now armed. And now we can start getting everything else up and running. So we're going to start here with the RWR volume as well as the missile launch volume, because I'd like to know if I'm going to die in the next few seconds. We're going to want to get up Comm 1 and Comm 2, but I'm going to wait until after the INS has done its thing there. Okay, while we're over here, I'm going to go ahead and set our TACAN channel, which I happen to know for this airport is 056. There we go. I'm also going to go ahead and turn on the UHF settings there. So we'll keep that on main. Pretty much I just left click on these once and it'll do what it needs to do. If we needed interior lighting, we would use that. If we needed flood lighting, we would use that. But we don't need any of that stuff today because it's morning, so we're good to go. Alright, continuing down the checklist, we're going to want to get the RWR stuff up and running. So we'll start with this and this. That's our ECM and RWR. Our countermeasures, we can go ahead and set that all the way to the right on auto. I don't know if these countermeasures programs are in fact programmable in this simulator. I know they are in DCS World with the A10. However, I'm just going to leave that at 1, but I will energize our chaff and flare dispensers. So those are now good to go. And as we can see, this is ready. It's already done its bit test. We're just waiting for the INS to flash that ready light there. As soon as that happens, we will continue on. Okay, so moving down the checklist, one important thing that we need to do on this right MFD is we need to click on DTE, and we need to load up all of the information. So you'll see it goes through everything there. Alright. And then on the left MFD, I'm going to click standby, go to CRM, and that'll be our default display. Now we'll notice the INS is now saying align and also ready here, which means it is pretty much good to go. So we're going to go back down to this align button here and switch it from norm to nav by left clicking it once. And there we go. You'll see a number of things happen on our MFDs, including our flight plan is now officially loaded up. Now the other thing that we're going to need to do is we're going to need to get the radios up and running. So we'll get the UHF frequency turned on to full volume. We'll get the VHF frequency turned on to full volume. I'm going to press return, which will put this onto its default setting here. These I don't believe do anything, but they have to be in the downwards position, which is their default position. So as long as they are like that, we should be able to start inputting stuff into the radio channel. I do want to set the AVTR to standby. That's our flight recorder, you know, the black box, so to speak. That's our flight recorder for it. We'll set that to record once we're ready to push off here. Okay, and I believe one of the last things that we're going to need to do here is we're going to go ahead and put in some frequencies. So let me zoom in just a touch. And we'll see if this sucker works. I'm actually going to start with Comm 2, which is our VHF channel. I happen to know that for Kang Noong Air Base, our frequency is going to be 126.20. And let's see if that enters. Okay, we've got that in. And Comm 1, right now it's on backup. I think I'll need to change that here. Alright, we can actually make it work with just the VHF, I believe, so we'll go ahead and keep that there. I usually try to set both of them at the same time, however, for whatever reason it doesn't seem to want to do it right now. Alright, that we can set the radar altimeter. I'm also going to do this one here, so that way it'll show up on the HUD. And let's see if we can call the tower. Okay.
1-1, copy.
There we go. So our chocks are now officially removed. Remember, we still have the parking brakes on. So we will be getting rid of that in a moment. We are just about ready to move out now. So I'm going to be calling to the tower. I'm just taking one last look to make sure everything looks good. Our UHF channel still is not set, but I'm not even going to worry about that right now. I'll probably do it at a later time. What I am going to do, however, is I'm going to go ahead and turn on our position lighting. We'll set it to steady, but once we get to the runway, we'll set it to flash. Alright, I do believe that is everything for our checklist. So technically, this is the end of the ramp start. The only other thing that I have left to do now is call the tower and tell them we need to get the hell out of here.
Jump 11, ready for departure. Taxi, runway 08. Hold short.
Okay, well, he's told us to taxi to 08 and hold short, so that is exactly what we're going to do. Now would be a good time to get that parking brake turned off, so let's do that and we'll move out. And I'll see you at runway 8. Now, one very important thing is going to be nose wheel steering, so I just went ahead and engaged that real quick here.
12, taxi, runway 08.
Never forget your nose wheel steering. I probably should have set that before I started taxiing out, but we're good. We're good. Okay, let me just do a quick outside view here and see what we look like. There's 2. He's getting ready to mosey out as well. Hey, don't run into my butt, buddy. Such a beautiful bird. I can't even tell you just how much I love this aircraft. Alright, we're going to line up on the left side of the runway, and we're going to have 2 line up on the right. I'm going to go too far here. Okay, that should be fine. Okay, so the final part of this, we are ready to do our little checks. I'm going to go ahead and click that parking brake back on. Our lights are already on. We're going to set them to flash now. And everything else should be good to go. 2 is in position. I'm going to set the AVTR to start recording. There we go. It is now green. It is recording us. So, win or lose, we are ready to roll. The last thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to set my nozzles to 40%. Perfect, perfect. Now, he did say hold short, didn't he? I'm going to ignore him here. Yeah, I'm just going to go with it. Alright, so we are good to go. So you know what it's time for. Brakes down and throttles up.
Jump 11, Yang Tower, taxi clear of the runway.
Haha, so long, sucker.
Jump 11, Yang Tower, resume on navigation.
Yeah, that's what I thought you were going to say. Alrighty, folks, so this concludes my little ramp start video. I hope that it helped you. If it did, give me a like, please, and I will catch you on the next one. Ciao.